Welcome to Military Minute Now. Subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. In the early hours of July 8, 2025, the night sky over occupied Donetsk erupted in a blinding fire, a calculated, devastating blow delivered by Ukrainian forces against a massive Russian ammunition depot. The city, usually shrouded in darkness, was suddenly bathed in an eerie orange glow as the explosion tore through the silence, waking thousands and sending shockwaves across the region. The blast was so powerful that it registered on seismographs hundreds of kilometers away, its force echoing like a distant earthquake. Emergency services scrambled to respond, but the scale of destruction was immediately clear, signaling a dramatic and unexpected shift in the conflict's momentum. Russia had been amassing forces for a decisive summer offensive, preparing for a push that could have changed the war's course. But that plan was stopped cold, not by tanks or infantry, but by the sudden total elimination of its ability to fight. Convoys ground to a halt, and the offensive's momentum evaporated overnight. The target was a sprawling logistics hub, a critical nerve center stockpiled with thousands of tons of artillery shells, rockets, and missiles. These munitions were meant to fuel the advance of over 110,000 Russian troops, providing the firepower for a massive assault. Eyewitnesses described scenes of apocalyptic chaos as secondary explosions raged for more than 24 hours, shattering windows and raining burning shrapnel for miles around. The city's residents watched in fear and awe as the night sky was lit up again and again by fireballs and debris. The strike didn't just destroy munitions, it crippled an entire Russian army group before it could even begin its assault. The once bustling depot was reduced to a smoldering wasteland, its strategic value erased in a single night. For Russian soldiers, the sudden silence where their artillery once thundered was immediate and terrifying. The loss was not just material but psychological. Morale plummeted as the reality of their vulnerability set in. The weapons they relied on, the very backbone of their offensive, were gone, consumed in a single unstoppable inferno. The devastation left behind was total, with little hope of quick replacement. This abrupt halt to the Donbas offensive stands as a stunning success for Ukrainian intelligence and military planning. The operation showcased not only precision, but also the ability to strike at the heart of the enemy's war machine. The event sent shockwaves through Russian command, exposing the deep vulnerability of their campaign and forcing a frantic reassessment of their strategy. The loss reverberated up the chain of command, leaving leaders scrambling for answers. The destruction of this depot is a strategic disaster, leaving a massive contingent of Russian troops disarmed, exposed, and unable to continue their advance. The night the sky burned marked a turning point, one that will be remembered as a decisive moment in the struggle for Donbas. The destruction of the Donetsk ammunition depot was no accident. It was a calculated blow, aimed right at the logistical heart of Russia's war effort in the region. This operation was the result of meticulous planning, coordination, and the use of cutting-edge technology that has become a hallmark of Ukraine's evolving military strategy. Ukrainian intelligence teams worked tirelessly, mapping the facility with high-resolution satellite imagery and gathering information from human sources on the ground. They pinpointed the most critical storage areas, ensuring maximum impact. The weapon of choice for this daring strike, long-range precision drones, was selected for their ability to fly deep behind enemy lines, navigate hostile territory, and evade even the most sophisticated Russian air defenses. The initial wave of drones was tasked with blinding the depot's defenses, targeting command centers and anti-aircraft batteries. This paved the way for the main assault, leaving the facility exposed. A larger, more powerful wave of drones then struck the main ammunition bunkers, triggering a devastating chain reaction of explosions that lit up the night sky and destroyed vast stockpiles of munitions. The devastation left behind underscored Ukraine's new strategy, using low-cost, high-precision weapons to achieve results that once required massive, risky air raids and heavy bombers. This attack marks a fundamental shift in the conflict. Russia's massed artillery and armored columns, once considered unstoppable, are now increasingly vulnerable to Ukraine's agile, tech-driven tactics and innovative use of drones. The ability to strike deep into enemy territory, far beyond the front lines, has become a great equalizer, allowing Ukraine to challenge Russian dominance in unexpected ways. The burning ruins of the Donetsk depot stand as proof that, in modern warfare, precision and intelligence can trump brute force and numbers, reshaping the very nature of the battlefield. To grasp the impact of this strike, consider the context. Russia had assembled 110,000 troops for a massive summer offensive in the Donbas. This was no routine rotation, it was a strategic buildup, aiming to break through Ukrainian defenses and claim a major victory. The now destroyed depot was the linchpin, supplying the entire operation. Without it, the concept of an overwhelming artillery-led assault collapses. The initial strike also killed Lieutenant General Valery Solodchuk, the offensive's commander, leaving the force leaderless at a critical moment. This vacuum of command sows confusion and paralysis among Russian officers. The result? A massive army stranded on the front lines, now a liability rather than a threat. These troops are exposed, unable to advance or defend themselves effectively. Russia's grand summer offensive was over before it began, defeated not in battle, but by a single, brilliantly executed strike. The offensive's collapse is a strategic nightmare for Moscow. The Donetsk explosion was just the most visible part of Ukraine's broader campaign against Russian logistics, a campaign waged both physically and digitally. Ukrainian cyber units have targeted Russia's railway system, disrupting troop and equipment movements with sophisticated hacks. By infiltrating scheduling and signaling, they create chaos, ghost trains, lost shipments, and rerouted convoys. Each incident may seem minor, but together they grind down Russian efficiency and reliability. This digital sabotage turns Russia's centralized rail-based logistics into a vulnerability. On the ground, Ukrainian special forces and partisans strike supply convoys, bridges and trucks, forcing Russia to divert combat troops to guard supply lines. The combination of cyber and physical attacks creates a multi-layered defense against Russian logistics. Even if supplies survive the rail journey, they face peril on the roads to the front. This relentless disruption explains why Russian offensives often lose momentum. They literally run out of steam. The most immediate consequence of the depot's destruction is the sudden silence of Russian artillery across the Donbas. For months, Ukrainian troops endured relentless shelling. Now, the guns have fallen quiet, not destroyed, but out of ammunition. This quiet is a tactical windfall for Ukraine, allowing freedom of movement and maneuver. The depot also stored surface-to-air missiles, and their loss has left a gap in Russian air defenses. Ukrainian jets now operate with greater freedom, striking command posts and troop concentrations with less risk. The shift in air dynamics is a game-changer, letting Ukraine support its ground forces more effectively. The combination of silent guns and open skies has fundamentally altered the tactical situation. Russian troops, meant to be on the offensive, now find themselves exposed and on the defensive. The destruction of supplies is only half the story. The psychological blow to 110,000 Russian troops is just as severe. The loss of ammunition, food, and medical support leaves them not only physically vulnerable, but also mentally drained, as hope for relief fades with each passing day. These soldiers, primed for a major offensive, now sit in silence, stripped of their primary weapon and leadership. The anticipation of battle has turned into a paralyzing uncertainty as they wait for orders that may never come. The death of their commander, General Solodchuk, deepens the sense of confusion and despair. His loss is not just a tactical setback, but a personal blow to morale, leaving many feeling abandoned and leaderless. Rumors of chaos and abandonment spread quickly, eroding discipline and the will to fight. Whispers of retreat and betrayal circulate, making it harder for officers to maintain control. Without artillery or air defense, every movement is dangerous, and the sound of a drone overhead becomes a source of terror. Even the smallest noise can trigger panic, as soldiers fear sudden attack from above. Ukrainian forces will exploit this weakness, using psychological operations to encourage surrender and desertion. Loudspeakers blare messages promising safety, while leaflets flutter down, urging Russian troops to give up the fight. For many, laying down arms may seem the only rational choice. The prospect of survival outweighs loyalty to a cause that now feels hopeless. This crisis reveals the fragility of an army dependent on top-down command and overwhelming firepower. When those elements vanish, confusion and fear quickly take their place. With those pillars gone, the structure crumbles. The once formidable front lines now resemble ruins, both physically and psychologically. The battle for the Donbas is now being fought in the minds of Russian soldiers, and Russia is losing. The true defeat may come not from the enemy's guns, but from the collapse of spirit within the ranks. The halt of the Donbas offensive is a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Ukraine, outnumbered and outgunned, refuses to fight on Russia's terms. Instead, it targets Russia's systemic weaknesses, centralized logistics, and single points of failure. Destroying one depot is more efficient than targeting thousands of artillery pieces. This approach is seen everywhere. Sea drones against the Black Sea Fleet, cyber attacks on command and control, and partisan actions in occupied territories. Ukraine leverages technology, intelligence, and agility to counter Russia's brute force. By attacking the nervous system, not the muscle, Ukraine inflicts maximum damage with minimal resources. The Donbas offensive's collapse is the clearest proof yet of this strategy's success. Ukraine is writing a new chapter in modern warfare, where intelligence and precision triumph over mass. The destruction of the Donetsk depot marks a turning point. What was to be a season of Russian advances is now a war of logistics. Russia's priority is no longer to advance but to resupply and rearm its stranded force, a task that will take weeks under constant threat. For Ukraine, this is a window to consolidate defenses, rotate troops, and target any new Russian depots. The next phase is a race. Russia to rebuild its supply chain, Ukraine to dismantle it. Russia's inability to protect its logistics reveals a systemic failure and will force a slower, more cautious approach. The war's outcome will be decided in the rear, by intelligence, drone strikes, and cyber disruption. The front lines may not move much, but the real battle is for control of the supply chain. The summer of 2025 will be remembered for the moment Russia's logistical backbone was broken. In a war often defined by trenches and tanks, it's easy to miss the unseen battlefield: logistics, intelligence, and technology. The halted Donbas offensive is a powerful reminder that modern wars are won far from the front line. Ukraine's refusal to fight a war of attrition has preserved its forces and upended the conflict's logic. This moment proves that a determined, innovative nation can defend itself against a larger aggressor. It's a blueprint for how smaller countries can use technology and strategy to protect their sovereignty. The fight for Ukraine is also a fight for international law and the right to self-determination. The story is far from over, but the world must keep watching, understanding, and supporting the pursuit of a just peace.